Hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to cover the monthly magazine of Vision IAS, and this is going to cover the entire magazine. Now the objective is to simplify it so that you do not face any problem in covering this magazine. Okay, now let's start. So first section is Polity section, and first news in Polity section is related to 50 years of emergency. So emergency was imposed in 1975, to be specific, on 25th of June, and it lasted till 1977. Now why it was imposed, one of the most important factor was there was JP movement, which was led by Jayaprakash Narayan. So basically it was total revolution movement, and subsequently there were other issues also. For example, inflation was quite high, unemployment was there, and there were various pressure on our resources because of the influx of migrants due to 1971 war. Apart from that, the Allahabad High Court had ruled, or basically the election of then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was declared as invalid, and that is why she had imposed emergency. Now after emergency, there was a Shah Commission. So Shah Commission was set up to look into the misuse of power. Now as far as emergency is concerned, please understand the emergency. So there are three important Article 352, that basically talks about the national emergency, which can be imposed on the grounds war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. Previously, the term was internal disturbances, but through 44th Amendment, this term armed rebellion was introduced. 44th Amendment. Okay, so these are important things. Next is related to personality right. Understand, we are living in the age of AI. Anyone can clone your face, can clone your voice, and they can use it for commercial purpose. So basically, that is a violation of your personality, because you were not you have not given any kind of permission to do so. So that is why recently Delhi High Court protected Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev's personality right from being misused by AI generated deepfake and voice clone. Voice clone basically means your voice is replicated even though you have not given explicit permission. What is deepfake? Deepfake is simply a content which appears genuine but it is fake. So it seems that it is authentic content, but it is not so. So personality right basically means your voice, your face, your name, all these are part of your personality, and they should not be used without your prior approval. Now in our country they are not clearly defined, and that is why they are prone to misuse. Recently Denmark was in news because Denmark is implementing a new law to protect the individuals from AI generated content. That simply means no one can clone your voice without your explicit permission. Next topic is constitutional validity of narco test. Understand, narco test basically means a substance is given so that the person does not lie. What substance is given? It is sodium pentothal. So basically the objective is to find out the truth about the incident. Now as far as narco test is concerned, please understand one thing. The involuntary narco test, that means without your permission, they violate the constitution. How they violate constitution? One is article 20, that is right against self incrimination. So there are three components of article 20. No double jeopardy, that simply means you cannot be punished twice for the same crime. Of course a departmental inquiry is allowed. And there is no self incrimination and no ex post facto. Now, no self incrimination basically means you are not going to incriminate yourself, and no ex post facto basically means the criminal legislation will not have retrospective application. Retrospective basically means from back date. Okay, so voluntary tests are allowed, but involuntary are not allowed because they are the violation of the Article 20, and Article 21 is right to life. So that cannot be done. Now in this case, understand one more thing. The test directly cannot be used as the sole evidence. Sole evidence basically means The content from the test, let's say criminal said that I killed someone, merely this cannot be used as evidence. Based on this particular statement, the police authorities need to find out, let's say, weapon, and then that weapon can be used in the investigation. So that weapon can be an evidence, but this statement alone will not be sufficient evidence. Next is related to Quality Council of India. So understand, it was in news because of its new office. The office is, or new headquarters is going to be in New Delhi. Now understand, QCI, that is Quality Council of India, it is a public private partnership. Now what is this public private partnership? Public private partnership, let me write it down properly. Public private partnership basically means both government and private player are coming together. So various industry body, for example SOSM, CIA and FICCI, they are uh, being represented in this QCI, and the Prime Minister appoint the chairperson of QCI. This has been asked by UPSC in its prelims. So just remember this thing. Next is related to ECI net. As the name suggests, it is an application by Election Commission of India. Now, what is the objective? Objective is to report the voter turnout more efficiently. So it will provide the updates related to voter turnout. Next is related to Adi Karam Yogi program. Karam Yogi basically refers to all the Karam Yogi initiatives are focused on one thing, that is capacity building. Capacity building. Okay, Adi basically means we are referring to tribals here. So this is an initiative of Ministry of Tribal Affairs. What is the objective? Objective is to build a network of motivated officers for the welfare of the tribal communities. So we have to train the field level workers up to 20 lakh. So that is the objective. We need to create a workforce that is committed towards the welfare of tribal communities. So with this, the polity section is over. Now let's revise this entire thing. Just a second. So first issue is related to 50 years of emergency. Again, nothing much here. You have to cover the polity section, static part. Then this is about personality right. That simply means your voice, your face, your name cannot be used without your prior permission. Then narco tests are invalid if they are done without your permission. Why? Because it is in conflict with Article 20 and Article 21. Then QCI, it was in use because of its new headquarter office building. The Prime Minister appoint the chairperson of QCI after consultation with the industry. Industry basically means we are talking about the industry representatives. For example, FICCI, that is Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Okay, then ECI launched a new app which is going to provide reports related to voter turnout, and Adi Karam Yogi program. Okay, now let's move to second part, that is IR section. So in IR, first issue is related to SCO. What is SCO? Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So there was defense ministers meeting in Qingdao in China. Now after this meeting, a joint declaration was issued, but India said we are not going to sign this declaration. Why India said so? Understand, this declaration did not had the mention of the Pahalgam incident, but it mentioned various other violence, for example Balochistan violence. So India said you are following double standards. You do not criticize the Pahalgam terror attack, but you want to mention Balochistan. That's why India said that terrorism should be treated equally. They must be equal standards for all kind of terror. Please understand one thing, that there is a regional anti-terrorist structure in SCO. That is one thing. Apart from that, as far as terror is concerned, India have always demanded a single definition or unified definition for terrorism, but as of now it is not defined. Why it is not defined? Various countries say that state action should not be considered as terrorist. Some parties say that if people are fighting for their independence, that should not be treated as terrorism. For example, Palestine will say that our action should not be considered as a terrorism. On the other hand, Israel will also say that our action should not be considered as terrorism. That's why there is a lack of definition on terror. What constitute terror? Okay. Next is China led trilateral. Trilateral basically means three parties are there. So this trilateral nexus includes China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So now China is increasing its presence in Bangladesh, especially after the exit of Sheikh Hasina government. Now, two important things. China is also expanding its presence in the western side of India. And recently, the CPEC, that is China Pakistan Economic Corridor, that was expanded to Afghanistan also. Now, China have a policy of string of pearls. String of pearls basically means China is trying to encircle India through different ports around India. Okay, next is related to Israel, US, and Iran conflict. So the issue was that Iran, IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency, that have highlighted that Iran is not following the protocols and there is a risk of nuclear weapon. Subsequently, Israel attacked Iran under Operation Rising Lion. Now understand why Israel is having problem with Iran. The concern of Israel is that if Iran will have nuclear weapon, it is going to use against Israel. So that is why they are trying to eliminate the nuclear facilities of Iran so that Iran is not capable enough to make the nuclear weapon. Okay. Now various nuclear installments and other facilities were targeted. One such facility was Natanz. This is the name of place where uranium enrichment was being done. Uranium enrichment basically means we are enriching uranium. See, understand, uranium can be used for electricity purpose or energy generation purpose, and it high level enriched uranium can be used for weapon. Weapon basically means we are talking about nuclear weapon. Okay, now Iran retaliated. That means Iran in counter Iran launched its operation, that is Operation True Promise 3. US also attacked Iran, and that was a Operation Midnight Hammer. So these 4 5 operations are important. The name of Israel operation was Operation Rising Lion. Name of Iran operation was Operation True Promise, and the name of US operation was Operation Midnight Hammer. Now, since because of this conflict between Israel and Iran, our Indian people were trapped, and that's why to evacuate those people, India had launched Operation Sindhu. So that is something which you need to keep in mind. Apart from that, a lot of other weapons and technologies were used, but please understand one thing: there is no point in doing PhD on these things. Over a period of time, the most important issues will be repeated again and again. Okay, now Israel used Barak Megan missile defense system. One more thing, Iran also threatened that they are going to close the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why it is significant? Because roughly 20% of the global oil passes through this route, and that is why there is a risk of increment in the oil prices. Now, apart from that, India is collaborating with Iran through Chabar project and through INSTC. What is INSTC? International North-South Transit Corridor. Now, this is the geographical location. So, if you see, this is Persian Gulf. This is second. This is Persian Gulf, and this is Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran. Next is related to G7 summit. So recently Prime Minister attended G7 summit. Canada was the host, and the name of the place is Kananskis. Now understand, with Canada we had a problematic relationship when Canada Prime Minister was Justin Trudeau. Now we are trying to reset those ties. Next is related to WTO reforms. Now understand one simple thing. WTO is a successor of GATT, that is General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. Subsequently, Marrakesh Agreement was signed. Marrakesh Agreement was signed, and WTO came into existence in 1995. So this year we are completing 30 years of WTO. That's why it is quite important from exam perspective. Now understand, in WTO there is a dispute resolution mechanism. Dispute resolution basically means what? That if there will be a conflict between two member countries, how that will be resolved. So first stage is consultation. Second stage is dispute settlement body. So consultation basically means that two parties are going to consult with each other to resolve the dispute. That means they are going to talk with each other. Then there is a dispute settlement body. It is just like a judicial mechanism. The decision of this DSB can be challenged in appellate body. Now, problem is the appointment of judges in this appellate body has been blocked by USC. So that is why this body is non-functional as of now. Why it is non-functional? Because it does not have required number of judges. Imagine a situation that the High Court has given a judgment in any case, and the decision was challenged in Supreme Court, but Supreme Court does not have required number of judges. So of course it will not make any sense. Okay, that is why there is a demand for reforms at WTO mini ministerial conference. Now this is going to be important. Why? Because as far as trade is concerned, the progress in WTO is quite slow, and that is why countries are forced to sign a bilateral agreement. Bilateral basically means between two countries. So WTO focus on multilateralism. On the other hand, because of slow progress in this multilateralism platform, countries are now focusing on bilateral agreements. For example, India is planning to negotiate trade agreement with USA. We already had signed agreement with, let's say, UK. With UK, we had signed FTA. With non-European countries, India had signed TEPA with 4 non-EU countries. Okay, so that is why India had demanded that reforms must be done. Apart from that, we had also demanded that there should be reduction of non-tariff barrier. See, tariff barrier basically means higher tariff is imposed. Non-tariff barrier basically means restrictions on import are allowed, are imposed. Let's say, I'm just giving one example. Let's say, rather than imposing taxation on this pencil, the government has allowed that only 20 units can be imported. So this is how countries impose restrictions. Rather than imposing direct tariff restrictions, they impose restrictions on the quantity to be imported. Apart from that, we have also demanded reforms in the system, because countries like China, they distort market by providing huge amount of subsidy, by uh, devaluing their own currency to promote export. And a dispute resolution mechanism, we have already covered this. Apart from that, India had also demanded the permanent solution of peace clause. Now this is a quite complex topic, but let me explain it in one line. See, there is a limitation on subsidies under WTO. That limitation is 10% for developing countries, 5% for developed countries. India's argument is that this 10% is not sufficient, and that is why there was a temporary solution. What is temporary solution? Peace clause. Peace clause simply means countries can provide more than 10% subsidy to ensure food security. That is the concept of this peace clause. Okay. Now we want a permanent solution of this thing. Apart from that, there is a dispute related to fisheries subsidies. See, fisheries subsidies basically means subsidies are given to fishermen. Now, the global community or developed countries, they say that we need to calculate the overall amount given by a country to fishermen. Overall amount, total amount. India's argument is that we are huge population, so of course our overall amount is going to be very high. Instead of overall amount, focus on a per capita amount. Our per capita amount is very low. For example, India provide roughly $35 per fisherman annually. $35. Some countries provide $76,000 per fisherman. Yes, understand. And still they say India is providing more subsidies. So our argument is that you are calculating the total amount, which is unfair in this case because our population is high. Our demand is that instead of calculating the total amount, calculate the per capita amount. So that is the entire issue. Apart from that, we have also demanded that countries like, or unions like European Union, they are imposing, or they are planning to impose carbon border adjustment mechanism. In a very simple sense, carbon tax. So that is going to be another type of trade barrier. The objective of WTO was to cut down these trade barriers, but now new trade barriers are being imposed, which will adversely impact the trade. So these are the reforms which we have demanded. Next is related to ECOWAS. What is ECOWAS? It is Economic Community of West African States. So recently it was in news because of its 50th anniversary. It is a regional grouping of 12 West African countries. Actually, originally it was 15, but three countries left it. We are going to discuss which are those three countries. These are Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Now, it can be asked in prelims that which countries recently quit ECOWAS. India have an observer status in ECOWAS since 2004. The headquarter is in Abuja in Nigeria. Next is related to UNSC, that is United Nations Security Council. So five new non-permanent members were elected. Which are these five countries? Colombia, Bahrain, Colombia, DRC, that is Democratic Republic of Congo, Latvia, and Liberia. So these are the five countries. Now understand, India demand the expansion of P5. P5 basically means permanent five. These are not permanent members. Non-permanent countries are 10 countries and permanent countries are 5 countries. So India demand expansion, and there is a G4 group which demand the expansion of this UNSC Security Council. To oppose it, there is another group or another club which is referred as Coffee Club. So they oppose the expansion of UNSC. Okay. Apart from that, recently Pakistan became the chair of Taliban Sanctions Committee and vice chair of Counterterrorism Committee. Now, this is quite serious because Pakistan is accused of terror financing. A country which is involved in the terror financing is being declared as the vice chair of a counterterrorism committee. Now, that itself shows that there is a lack of uniformity in the terror standards at global platforms. Next is related to ECOSOC. What is ECOSOC? It is United Nations Economic and Social Council. As the name suggests, the focus is on economic and social issues. Why it was in news? Because India has been elected as the uh, member country for the duration of 2026 to 2028. The headquarters is in New York in USA. Next is related to Gavi. So the old name of Gavi was Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. Why it was in news? Because recently US pulled out from it. That means US is not going to provide financial support to this. If you have noticed one trend, after the election of Trump, US has withdrawn from various global institutions, be it WHO, be it Gavi. Apart from that, US had also quit Paris Agreement. So what US is doing, US is following a policy of protectionism. That means they are going to focus on their own interest rather than thinking on the broader aspects. Next is related to International Organization for Mediation. See, mediation basically means trying to resolve the dispute outside the conventional judicial system. Now, recently, China had launched this initiative, that is IOMED, and it is an alternative to ICJ, that is International Court of Justice, and Permanent Court of Arbitration. Why China has done so? Because China is saying that these institutions are dominated by West. So that is why China is saying we are going to provide non-West conflict resolution platform. Now, what kind of dispute resolution will be there on this platform? Dispute between different countries, and dispute between the country and the national or citizen of another country, and international commercial disagreements. That means if there is a disagreement on any commercial agreement, that kind of disagreement can be resolved through this platform. Next is related to India, Kyrgyzstan, BIT. What is BIT? Bilateral Investment Treaty. Bilateral basically means between two countries. Let me give a very basic example. Let's say India and let's say US are having a trade agreement. Okay, as a part of that agreement, let's say Tesla has invested into India. What if in future government of India does something discriminatory against Tesla? Then how that kind of dispute will be resolved? That is being done through BIT, Bilateral Investment Treaty. Please understand one thing: India is not a member of ICSID. What is ICSID? International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. This is part of World Bank. India is not a member. India says that if there will be investment related dispute, we are going to resolve it through our BIT, that is Bilateral Investment Treaty. So, with Kyrgyzstan, this treaty was signed in 2019 and it came into force in June 2025. That's why it was in news. Okay, these treaties are also known as International Investment Agreement, as the name suggests, quite simple. Now, what is the objective? Objective is to assure foreign investors protection from the arbitrary action of the host country. Host country basically means, in the above example, let's say Tesla is investing into India. So in that case, India is going to be the host. Now, this talks about a dispute resolution mechanism. Now, understand one thing. If Tesla is having any dispute, so first Tesla need to use the local remedies. Local remedies basically means what? Local dispute resolution mechanism. It simply means the dispute resolution mechanism which have been provided by Government of India. Once it has exhausted that, it is to be mentioned in the agreement itself. Let's say in some agreement it can be 3 years, in some agreement it can be 5 years. That means for the if there is a dispute today, for the 5 years, for the next 5 years, the entire dispute resolution mechanism should be followed within India. And let's say the dispute is not resolved even after 5 years, then you can approach the international institutions for the dispute resolution, but not before that. You are not allowed to approach international institutions before that. Why it is not being done? Understand, if there is a dispute, and every time if there will be intervention by international institutions, so that is going to be in conflict with the sovereignty of that country. That is why there is a mechanism of dispute resolution mechanism through local remedies. Local remedies basically means the dispute resolution platforms within India. Now, since 2015, we have introduced a new model BIT, and after that, we have signed BIT with various countries, for example, Belarus, Brazil, UAE, and Uzbekistan. Okay, next topic is International Association of Marine Aids to Navigation and Lighthouse Authorities. As the name suggests, it is related to marine navigation. Why it was in news? Because recently India participated as vice president in the second session of IALA. What is IALA? This is IALA, and this was organized in Nice in France. And India is going to be the host of third IALA General Assembly, and that is going to be in December 2025. Apart from that, India will also host a 21st IALA conference. Please understand, this is Assembly, General Assembly, this is conference. So this is going to be in 2027. India is going to host it in Mumbai. So both these events, that is General Assembly event of 2025 and conference of 2027, they both will be hosted in Mumbai in Maharashtra. Next is related to Zangezur corridor. So what is this Zangezur corridor? So understand, this is Zangezur corridor. So this is actually a area or corridor between the Azerbaijan and Armenia. So this is geographical location of Azerbaijan, this is Armenia. Now understand one simple thing. There is a dispute between these two countries, Azerbaijan and Armenia, and that is related to Nagorno-Karabakh region. And last news in IR section is related to e-passport. E basically means online. So new passport have been introduced. This passport will have a chip with biometric informations, and it will use technologies such as RFID. What is RFID? Radio frequency identification. And it will also use the PKI, that is public key infrastructure, for security. Why it is being done? To prevent any kind of forgery and fraud. So with this, IR section is over, and now we are going to start the economy section. So in IR, we have seen that new passport mechanism is there. Then there is a Zangezur corridor. Then India participated into this IALA conference in France. Then there is one mechanism related to BIT. Why? Because BIT with Kyrgyzstan came into force from June 2025. Then there is a IOMAD initiative by China to provide platform for mediation. Then US have decided to quit Gavi. That means they will not provide funding for this initiative. Then India was elected for ECOSOC. Then there is election of five non-permanent members to UNSC. Then 50 years of ECOWAS. Then India demanded reforms in WTO, and some initiatives such as G7 and the conflict between Israel and Iran. Apart from that, there was a China-led trilateral nexus, that is between China, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And then there is a SEO defense ministers meet. So these were the IR topics. Now let's start the economics. Hmm. First is related to rural India. Now understand, majority of our country's population reside in rural areas. So what is happening is that in case of urban areas, the income is more or less stagnant, especially after COVID. That means income is not growing faster, and that is why what is happening is that the demand in urban areas is quite low. On the other hand, in case of rural areas, the income is improving in a relatively better way in comparison to urban area. So in rural area, the income growth is relatively better, expenses are relatively lower, and that is why what is happening is that the demand in rural area is increasing. Apart from that, the remittances are increasing, and that is why the entire crux of this entire matter is that the rural consumption is increasing. The growth in rural consumption is better than the growth in rural just a second. Growth in rural consumption is better than the growth in urban consumption. That is the entire crux of this matter. Apart from that, what is happening is that this time, as per IMD, the rainfall is going to be better than normal. So what will happen? The agricultural production will be higher, therefore the income of the rural areas will increase, which will drive the consumption. So that is the crux, and that is why what is happening is that the difference between rural and urban consumption, the inequality or the difference between rural and urban consumption, that inequality is going down. This is evident from household consumption expenditure survey. We have covered this survey in our previous parts. Okay. Next is related to quick commerce. Quick commerce basically means they will provide you immediate delivery of items. In this context, please remember one term, that is dark store. Dark store basically means these are mini warehouse. The problem or the criticism of the dark store is that the hygienic conditions are not good. Apart from that, what is good thing about quick commerce is that, of course, they will save your time, they will save your fuel. One good thing about this quick commerce is that they are giving jobs to a lot of people, and this is basically referred as gig economy. Gig economy basically means there are no permanent employees, no traditional employee employer relationship is there. The people are given a task, and based on that task they are given money. For example, let's say the delivery boys of let's say Blinkit, they are not the permanent employees. They are given payment on the basis of per delivery. So good thing about this gig economy is that it provides some jobs, otherwise the problem of unemployment will be even more serious in our country. Bad thing is that since they are not the permanent employees, the company is not taking care of the welfare of these workers. No company is taking care of the welfare, and that is why the government had introduced a social security code, but it is not implemented effectively as of now. So these are some things which you need to keep in mind. Next is related to aviation safety. So quite generic points are there. This entire incident was there because of the crash of Air India flight. Now, for that, DGCA, that is Directorate General of Civil Aviation, had issued various guidelines. Understand, in our country, there is a shortage of maintenance staff and a trained pilot. And that's why what is happening is that the pilots are working beyond the time, and that's why they are not able to have complete rest. This adversely impact their mental health as well. So that is why we need to modernize our entire system. We need to modernize our oversight also. We need to make sure that the things are maintained properly, inspections are conducted on time. Now in this context, there is one term, this is not mentioned in the magazine, but this is from the editorial of the Hindu, and that is Swiss cheese model of safety. Now understand, let's say there are five safety mechanism. Now if there is a defect in one, nothing major no major disaster will happen, because rest four are working fine. But what happens is that there are minor defects in each of the model. Then what will happen? Then there will be a big disastrous event. So this model of safety says that it's it is not okay if there is a minor defect, because this minor defect, if it is combined with other minor defects, then it is going to create a lot of problems. Okay. Next topic is related to asset monetization pipeline or national monetization pipeline. Now understand what is monetization. Let's say there is an airport. Now government can sell this airport, which is basically referred as privatization. But what if government is able to generate revenue without selling it? That is basically referred as monetization. So this airport is given on lease. Government is owner, but private party is operating it. So the revenue right or right to generate revenue has been transferred to the private player. Why to the private player? Because they are more efficient. What benefit will be there in this case? Because private player will be able to generate more money, government will be able to recover more money. Government is going to get a share from that revenue. Okay, that is the national national monetization pipeline. Now understand the NMP1, national monetization pipeline 1, had the goal of 6 lakh crore revenue generation. The NMP2, which was announced in the recent budget, this have a goal of generation of 10 lakh crore rupees. Okay, now the old projects, the existing projects, they are basically referred as brownfield project. So what we are doing is that we are utilizing our brownfield project, and then we will use this money to fund our new project. New project are basically referred as greenfield project. Greenfield project basically means new project. So we are going to utilize this money to fund our new projects initiative, that is National Infrastructure Pipeline. Actually this is old name. The new name of this initiative is PM Gati Shakti. So in a very simple sense, utilizing our old projects, we are generating more revenue. So can I simply say that NMP, that is National Monetization Pipeline, just a second, NMP will help in financing PM Gati Shakti, or this is about brownfield project. Brownfield basically means, brownfield simply means old project, and this is about green project, greenfield project. Greenfield basically means new project. Please understand, it has nothing to do with environment friendly. Greenfield basically means a new project is there. Okay, what is the criticism? Criticism is that the focus is on few sectors only, so other sectors are not highlighted. And second criticism is that, let's say airports, so most of the airports are given to let's say Adani Group. Now this is being criticized that why you are giving all the airports to a particular group. The counter argument of the government is that we need someone who is having experience. Now since Adani Group is having experience, that's why it is easier for them to give one more airport to them. So that is why they are giving, they are not doing any partiality here. So you need to understand both sides of the story. Next is related to FDI. Now understand, in this FDI you need not to mug up anything, just understand this is our country. FDI is coming into our country. This is inflow. Some of it may go out, that is outflow. So the difference between inflow and outflow, that is referred as net FDI. So this is gross. Gross means total. Now in case of India, there is one trend is that gross inflow is okay. Nothing much is happening in that case. It is stable, it is good. But what is happening is that outflow has increased, and that's why our net FDI has gone down. Okay, so total FDI inflows has dipped. It's not that they are same. They have gone down, but they have not gone down tremendously. But what is happening is that our net FDI has gone down significantly. Why net FDI has gone down significantly? Because of higher outflow. Why there is higher outflow? Understand, the business environment is not good. Why I am saying business environment is not good? Because it is quite complex. A lot of paperwork is required. Plus, there is huge delay in the project clearance. That's why the economic survey of this year had also focused on one term, that is deregulation. What is the meaning of this term, deregulation? It simply means we have to simplify our business environment so that the companies need not to look for other alternatives. Other alternatives means other countries. Next is financing for sustainable development. Understand, sustainable development basically means development which is long lasting. Okay, now for that we need a lot of resources. Now for that there was fourth international conference on financing the development, that is FFD4. Quite simple, the name itself is self explanatory, that this was a conference to arrange the financial resources for the sustainable development. This was organized in Spain, and subsequently there was Seville commitment. In a very simple sense, it is the name of the place where it was organized. So Seville commitment are related to, this can be a very simple straightforward question, they are related to arranging the financial resources for sustainable development. Now this was adopted, and the objective is to arrange roughly 4 trillion annual SDG financing gap. Gap basically means this is the difference between the amount which is required and the amount which is available. Understand, following the pattern, US decided to exit. So nowadays US have clear cut pattern that whenever they have to contribute some money, they are not going to be the part of it. Now as far as SDG is concerned, understand, there are 17 goals, 169 targets, and the objective is to complete them by 2030. In case of India, Niti Aayog is the apex organization for SDG, and Niti Aayog released SDG India Index. As per this index, Kerala and Uttarakhand are on top position, and Bihar is on bottom position with a score of 57. The score of Kerala and Uttarakhand is 79. Overall score of India is 71. So these are some important things which you need to keep in mind. Now there is a global SDG index also, and that SDG index is released by UNSDSN. What is SDSN? Sustainable Development Solution Network. As per that report, India for the first time has entered into top 100. So India's current ranking is 99th, which is our best performance so far. Okay. Next is related to Amrut Mission. As the name suggests, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. Urban transformation basically means we are focusing on the development of infrastructure in urban areas. Okay, why this scheme was in news recently? Because it completed 10 years. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. Understand, sponsored basically means central government is going to provide some resources and rest of the resources will be arranged by the state government. Then there is a central sector scheme. In that case, 100% funding is provided by the central government. Now this is implemented through Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Please understand one thing, our urban bodies lack financial resources, and that's why they are heavily dependent on state and central government. Now the focus is on the fact that they need to generate their own resources. That's why the concept self finance. Apart from that, we are also focusing on climate resilient infrastructure in urban areas. The government of India had also announced Urban Challenge Fund. This is a fund of corpus of 1 lakh crore. Objective is to focus on the urban infrastructure. So these are some of the important things. Next is related to digital payment intelligence platform. As the name suggests, it is related to digital payments. For what purpose? To detect the digital payment fraud in real time. Real time basically means right now if they are happening, so the platform will basically alert the authorities about it. This is an initiative by RBI. So the objective is to curb the initiative, to curb the frauds such as any kind of payment fraud. For example, the scamsters demand OTP and all that, so we can take action against them. Now, as far as these crimes are concerned, cyber crimes are concerned, please understand one more thing, that is I4C, Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center is there, which is under MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, next is related to PSL norms for SFB. What are SFB? Small Finance Bank. Please understand, they are not different from Universal Bank. The only difference is that they need to focus on small borrowers. Now, can they operate in entire country? Yes, they can. Examiner can set a trap that they can operate only in certain areas. That's why the name small. But the small is about focus on small borrowers, not about area. Okay. Now they have to write this keyword in the end of the name, that is SFB, Small Finance Bank. Now what is happening is that since their focus is on small borrowers, there's a high risk, and that's why they are not able to expand their business. So previously for them the PSL requirement was 75%. What is PSL? In a very simple sense, banks need to give credit to these sectors, such as agriculture is there, such as MSME is there. Banks do not prefer to give loan to these sectors because of high risk. For example, in case of agriculture, risk is high because A, there is no monthly income, B, there is no fixed income even after 6 months. So banks do not prefer. But these sectors are very crucial for our economy, and that is why RBI had given instructions to give loan to these sectors. These are basically referred as PSL guidelines. So for DCB, that is domestic commercial banks, it is 40%. In an oversimplified sense, if any bank is giving loan of 100 rupees, 40 rupees need to be given to the priority sectors. In case of SFB, it was 75. But SFB said that this way we are struggling to scale our business, we are struggling to make profits. That's why this guideline has been revised to 60%. That means now they need to provide 60% of their loan to PSL. Rest can be given to other sectors. Next is related to Sagarmala Finance Corporation Limited. Understand, there is a Sagarmala initiative. What is the objective of this initiative? Objective is a port-led development. In a very simple sense, the focus is on development of port infrastructure. For that we need resources. For that, government has recently approved this SMFCL. What is SMFCL? It is Sagarmala Finance Corporation Limited. In a very simple sense, this is going to provide financial resources for Sagarmala initiative. And this is first NBFC in maritime sector. Since it is focusing on port sector, that's why the term maritime sector. NBFC basically means these are the financial companies which provide financial services, but they are not the conventional banks. So this NBFC is going to focus clearly and only on the maritime sector. This is not a conventional bank where everyone can get loan. The loans will be provided, but only for the maritime sector development. That is the meaning. Next is related to India's PRV. PRV is Polar Research Vessel. As the name suggests, it is a vessel for research in polar areas. It is going to be indigenous, that is made in India. For that, recently an agreement has been signed between GRSC, that is Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited, and the Kongsberg. This is the company of Norway. So they will assist GRSC in making this indigenous PRV. Next is related to report on the value of output from agriculture and allied sectors. Again, nothing much here. Just understand one thing. Agriculture sector still provide employment to roughly 50% population of our country. The contribution in GDP is roughly 16%. So in a very simple sense, the contribution is roughly one fifth in GDP, and contribution in employment is roughly half. That is why the agriculture sector is facing the problem of over dependency and disguised unemployment. Now, what is this disguised unemployment? In a very simple sense, the requirement is, let's say, of 5 people, but 8 people are engaged into this thing. Why 8 people are engaged? Because they do not have other employment opportunity in other sectors, in secondary and tertiary. So that's why they are over dependent on agriculture. Now, can I simply say requirement was of 3, 8 are engaged. So these 3 people are technically unemployed. Next is related to modified interest subvention scheme. Nothing need to be crammed. Interest subvention basically means discount on interest rate is given. Subvention is nothing but discount. So if you are taking loan, government is saying if you will repay this loan on time, we will provide you discount on the interest rate. So for farmers, this is interest subvention scheme. The objective is to provide them short-term credit. Short-term credit for their immediate needs. This will be given at a lower interest rate through KCC. KCC were introduced through RV Gupta committee. Okay, who is going to implement this scheme? RBI with NABARD. What is NABARD? National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So basically loans will be given at the interest rate of 7%. Now, if the loans are paid on a time, then further incentives are given in the form of lower interest. So up to 3 lakh will be given at a subsidized interest rate of 7% with 1.5% interest subvention provided to eligible lending institutions. That simply means, understand why bank will provide a lower interest rate. It is loss for them. So government is saying you charge lower interest from the farmer, the remaining interest will be paid by the government. That is the concept. So farmer will receive loan at lower interest rate. Government will pay the remaining interest to the banks. So for banks, it is not a loss because they are receiving the same interest which they would have charged. But farmer is not going to pay the same interest. It will be paid by the government. Some amount will be paid by the government. Some amount will be paid by the farmer. Next is related to ICR ISET. What is ICR ISET? Basically, it is Center of Excellence for South-South Cooperation, and this has been launched in Hyderabad. Now, as the name suggests, South-South Cooperation basically means countries of Global South. For that purpose, it has signed a recent agreement with Research and Information System for Developing Countries. Okay. Next is related to National Turmeric Board. So recently this board was set up to give a boost to the turmeric sector. Turmeric is also known as golden spice. So this board will have its headquarters in Nizamabad in Telangana. Next is and last news is related to nano fertilizers. Now, what is nano? Understand, nano simply means there is a coating of nanomaterial around the fertilizer. What is the benefit of this coating? This will slow down the release of that fertilizer. If it will be released slowly, the efficiency will increase. So understand one thing. Because of this coating, the efficiency will increase. If efficiency will increase, you need to use less fertilizer, so that will save your cost. That is about nano fertilizer. Now, why it was in news? Because IFCO, that is Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, IFCO is going to set up its own first overseas means outside India, nano fertilizer plant, and that will be in Brazil. Please remember one thing, that the world's first nano liquid urea was launched by IFCO, and the first plant was set up in Kalol. This was in Gujarat. Subsequently, in 2023, IFCO had launched nano DAP. What is DAP? Diammonium phosphate. So in our country, urea is most used fertilizer, and the second most used fertilizer is DAP, diammonium phosphate. Okay. So with this, the economy section is over. So this news was related to the IFCO plant in Brazil, first overseas plant for nano fertilizer. This is related to turmeric board. The headquarters is going to be in Nizamabad. Then this is related to new center in Hyderabad for Global South Cooperation for agricultural items. Then this is related to interest subvention or discounted loan to the farmers through KCC. This is related to the contribution of our agriculture sector. This is related to the polar research vessel of India, which will be with the help of the Kingsburg Oslo. Then there is a first NBFC in maritime sector, then revised PSL guidelines for a small finance bank, then digital payment intelligence platform to detect the digital frauds, then Amrut completed 10 years. Then in SDG, two important things. India for the first time is on 99th position, which is our best performance in SDG India, SDG index. And then there is a similar commitment, which is related to providing or arranging financial resources for sustainable development. Then there is a trend about FDI. So there is a small downfall in our inflow, but there is significant downfall in our net FDI. Net is total inflow minus outflow. Then there is NMP, that is generating revenue without selling the asset. Then there is related to aviation safety. Then quick commerce, which provide a lot of employment, and these type of jobs are basically gig jobs or gig workers are there. And the last news or the first news is related to growth of demand in rural areas. In urban area, demand is more or less stagnant because salaries are not increasing. Okay, now let's move to next part, that is security. So recently the defense minister approved the execution model for indigenous simply means made in India fifth generation fighter jet, and that is AMCA. What is AMCA? It is Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. As the name suggests, it is a combat aircraft. Now, as far as security is concerned, please understand there is a CCS, that is Cabinet Committee on Security. It is under Prime Minister, and Defense Minister, Home Minister, Finance Minister, and External Affairs Minister are part of it. Next is related to Silver Notice. So understand, Silver Notice is issued by Interpol. Interpol is nothing but international police. So what happens is that, let's say there is a criminal who is having assets in other countries, let's say in Italy. Now India does not have direct jurisdiction over Italy. So what India can do, India is going to request Interpol to seize the asset of that particular criminal. That is the concept. So India will request Interpol. Interpol will then request Italy to look into the matter. So that is the goal of Silver Notice, to track the asset of the fugitives. Fugitive basically means who committed crime and run away from India. As far as Interpol is concerned, CBI is our nodal agency, and these are the type of different notice. You need not to mug up. Usually they are repeated in newspaper because of various issues. So just read newspaper, and over a period of time you will know about them. Okay. Next is related to successful trial of Rudrastra at Pokhran. So it is hybrid UAV. What is UAV? Unmanned aerial vehicle. Unmanned basically means it is not being directly, there is no man, it is not a aircraft, it is a machine just like a drone, which is controlled remotely. So this is hybrid vertical takeoff landing. Vertical takeoff basically means, see, a plane will take off like this. Vertical takeoff basically means suddenly it can rise. So this is good for monitoring. Next is related to a few exercise which were in use. First is Conquest. So this is multilateral exercise for UN peacekeeping forces. Indian Army participated into it, and it was organized in Mongolia. Next is PASEX. So this is a naval exercise between India and UK, which was conducted in Arabian Sea. So these were the important security related current affairs. Just a second. Okay, it is not working. Huh. Next is related to environment. Now understand, as far as environment is concerned, I have tried to focus on the most important aspect. There's too much information in the environment section. You cannot remember that much information. First is related to agroforestry. As the name suggests, it is a combination of two keywords, agriculture plus forestry. So in a very simple sense, combining agriculture and forestry. Why it was in news recently? Because government issued the model rules for felling trees on agricultural land. Now, these model rules focus on the procedure for registration of land for agroforestry. So if you want to register your land for agroforestry, you need to follow these principles. Now India have a policy, national agro forestry policy. The objective is to focus or to combine forestry with agriculture. Forestry basically means tree cultivation with agriculture or farming. Next is International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So, recently this conference was organized in France. This was 7th conference, and African Union joined. African Union also joined this one. The theme was shaping a resilient future for coastal regions. During this initiative, one more initiative was announced, that is call to action for coastal resilience in small island developing states. Now understand, island countries face the greater risk of disaster, especially because of rising sea level. Why sea level is rising? Understand. Global warming is there. Because of this global warming, what is happening is glaciers are melting. Because of glacier melting, what is happening is that sea level is rising. Because of sea level rising, what is happening is that there is a risk of sinking of these small islands. And that is why this initiative has been announced. Now, as far as CDRI is concerned, what is CDRI? It is Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So it was launched in 2019 by our Prime Minister at UN Climate Action Summit. The headquarters of CDRI is in New Delhi. Next is related to disaster risk reduction financing. As the name suggests, the focus is on reducing the risk of disaster. So recently, UNDDR, that is United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, released a report. What is the name of the report? Global Assessment Report, and the title is Resilience Pace. That means we have to invest into our infrastructure so that it can withstand the disaster. Now, as far as disaster is concerned, please remember one thing, disaster management is explicitly mentioned in GS paper 3. For disaster management, two important frameworks are there. One is Hugo framework, which was applicable from 2005 to 2015, and then there is a Sendai framework, which is applicable from 2015 to 2030. In the context of disasters, two important terms are there. One is green bond. Green bond basically means issuing bonds to finance the environment friendly projects. And then there is a cat bond. Cat basically refers to catastrophe. So these bonds are issued. Let's say a country have issued these bonds. Let's say India have issued these bonds. You have purchased it. Now these bonds have very high interest rate. High interest rate plus high risk. High risk, high reward strategy is there. So how government of India will be able to use this? So whenever there will be disaster, government will be able to use this money. That means if there will be disaster, you will lose your money. If there won't be any disaster, you are going to gain significantly. That is the concept of cat bond. Next is related to maritime disaster. So in recent time, the Kerala coast had witnessed two significant maritime disaster. One was the damage of MSC Elsa 3, which contaminated our coastal areas, and then there was another damage, that is MV1 High. This was because of fire. Now this is Liberia based ship, and this was Singapore flagged ship. So that's why India highlighted that there is a need of transparency. Why there is a need of transparency? Because these ship had misdeclared hazardous goods. Misdeclared basically means they declared that they are not so hazardous. Why so? Just to evade the authorities. So that is why there is a lack of transparency, and we need better regulation. Apart from that, there should be a satellite tracking and insurance reform. Why insurance? If there is a damage, the compensation should be paid. For example, recently Kerala government had approached the High Court that they should direct MSC for the payment of compensation. The Kerala High Court had said that okay, seize their boat, another boat, till the time they do not pay the compensation amount. Now understand, High Court have original jurisdiction in case of admiralty issues. Okay. The headquarter of IMO is in London in UK. Next is related to crowd disaster management. Understand the background. So RCB won the IPL. There was celebration. Subsequently, the crowd was too much. There was stampede. A lot of people died. Subsequently, a committee was set up, and that was Justice D. Kunha panel. Now, this panel said that there was lack of management, there was lack of regulation at the gate of the stadium, because of which stampede was the result. Because of which there was stampede, and subsequently, a lot of people lost their life. Now, what could have been done? We could have used different technology to control the crowd or to regulate or to monitor them. Apart from that, the police should have ensured better coordination between different departments, and there should have been a multi-agency coordination. See, every now and then, since we are highly populated country, every now and then we see a lot of disasters because of mismanagement of the crowd. So that's why it is important we can use technology just to monitor them. Next is Bharat Forecast System. As the name suggests, it is a system for weather forecasting. It has been launched by MOES, that is Ministry of Earth Sciences, and it has been developed by IITM Pune. What is IITM? It is Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Now, it will have better forecasting resolution, and because of that, it will help us in disaster management, any kind of disaster, for example, cyclone, and climate resilient planning. Next is related to Science Policy Panel on Chemicals, Waste and Pollution. So focuses on three things: chemicals, waste and pollution. So in 2022, there was a resolution of UNEA, that is United Nations Environment Assembly. Subsequently, this panel has been now formed up. That means recommendation was of 2022. Now it has been formed up. As the name suggests, it is going to focus on chemical waste, pollutions. So it is going to supplement the existing two organizations. One is IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and one is IPBES. What is IPBES? It is Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. Okay, next is related to ILO, that is International Labour Organization, Convention on Biological Hazard. Understand the meaning of this thing. At workplace, the workers should be protected from any kind of biological hazard. That is the main focus of this. ILO simply means International Labour Organization. So this is the first ever international convention adopted on biological hazards at work, and this is convention number 192. In a very simple sense, objective is to ensure the safety of workers. It is applicable to the all sectors, including informal sectors. Now, India have objected to this. Why we have objected to it? We said that our MSME is informal sector. A lot of MSME or a lot of small companies are there. If they will have to follow all these protocols, this will increase their cost of operation, and therefore it will be adversely impacting them. What is counter argument? Safety is a first and foremost requirement, safety of workers. Now in this context of hazard, please remember one thing, that is Bhopal gas tragedy, and the waste of this Bhopal gas tragedy is now being disposed of in Pitampur in Madhya Pradesh. What was the tragedy? That was the leakage of methyl isocyanate from the plant of Union Carbide, and Warren Anderson was the head of the company at that time. These are important, reason being key, it recently completed I think 40 years. Yes, 1984. Just a second. Hmm. Okay, next is state and trends of carbon pricing. See, carbon pricing basically means you are allowed to emit only fixed unit of carbon. Let's say you are allowed to eat only 5 chocolates per day. If you are eating more than that, if you need to eat more than that, you need to pay extra money for that. If you are eating less than that, you can sell those extra. Let's say 5 were allowed, you ate only 3, so you are having 2 surplus, you can sell them. Similarly, instead of chocolate, now replace the chocolate with the carbon. That is how carbon market functions. So recently World Bank released a report. That report said that now there are more than 80 carbon pricing mechanism. So over a period of time, this is becoming quite popular, and it covers roughly 28% of the global GHG emission. Okay, now what is carbon pricing? It simply means a monetary value is assigned to the carbon emission. Why it is in monetary terms? So that we can encourage the polluters to reduce their greenhouse gas emission. Similarly, as in case of chocolate example, we are saying that if you are going to eat less, you will get this much amount of money. So instead of 5 chocolate, if you are going to eat let's say 3 chocolate, you will get 20 rupee extra. Why 20 rupee extra? Because you saved 2 chocolate. You can sell that. If someone is eating more than 5, let's say they need to eat 7, so they need to purchase 2. For that 2, they need to pay 20 rupee extra. So this is how monetary value is assigned to the chocolates, in this case to the carbon emission. Next is related to state of climate in Asia. As the name suggests, it is related to the climate situation, and it has been released by WMO. Now understand, just one point is there, that Asia is warming at the double speed of the global average. That means the temperature is rising in Asia at a much faster pace. Because of that, what will happen? Our glaciers will melt fast, sea level will rise fast, there will be water related problems, there will be coastal vulnerability. Next is National Mission for Green India. As the name suggests, focuses on sustainable development. So why it was in news? Because recently the revised document was released. It is part of National Action Plan on Climate Change, which was launched in 2011. The focus is on afforestation and carbon sequestration. What is carbon sequestration? The carbon which has been emitted, we are trying to capture it back. That is carbon sequestration. Now how we are going to fund this? So first there will be allocation by the government, and then there will be campa fund. Now what is this campa fund? Campa basically refers to compensatory afforestation fund management and planning authority. Let me give you a very basic example. Let's say you need a land, and this land is having a lot of trees. Let's say I'm oversimplifying it. Let's say it is having 1000 trees. So what is happening is that you need to cut these trees for any industrial project. So you need to pay money for afforestation of these trees, and that money is deposited in this fund, CAMPA. See why we are allowing the deforestation in this case? Because industrial development is also important. But someone who has cutted these trees, technically loss of environment is there, so in compensation to that they need to pay money to the campa fund. That is compensatory afforestation. So this is a money which will be used for the afforestation. Next is Global Drought Outlook 2025. So this was recently released by OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. As per that report, roughly 40% of the global land now face the risk of drought. Now understand one thing. There are three important conventions of UNFCCC, of United Nations. One is related to UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This will have COP30, and this will be in Belém, that is in Brazil. Then there is CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity. So this will have COP17, and this is going to be in Armenia. And then there is UNCCD, Convention to Combat Desertification. This is going to be in Mongolia. This is also COP17, which will be in Mongolia. Okay. Now understand one more thing. COP29. Just a second. COP29 was organized in Baku in Azerbaijan. COP16 of this was organized in Cali in Colombia. Sorry, it is desertification. So this one was organized in Riyadh or Jeddah, please check it. But it was hosted by Saudi Arabia. I'm not able to recall the place, whether it was Jeddah or Riyadh. Please confirm it. And then CBD, this was organized in Cali in Colombia. Okay. Next is global ocean darkening threatens underwater ecosystem. Understand the meaning. Darkening basically means it is becoming more turbid. Why it is becoming more turbid? Because of multiple issues. One is acidification of ocean. That is why marine organisms are dying, and a layer is formed on the top level. That's one reason. Second reason, plastic pollution is there. Third reason, algal bloom due to this climate change. So what is happening is that it is becoming more and more solid, and because of this the top layer is becoming more solid, more turbid. Because of this, what is happening is that the sunlight is not able to penetrate it. If sunlight will not be able to penetrate, the lower microorganisms or the other marine organisms, they will not be able to receive sunlight, and therefore it will adversely impact their life. That is the concept of this ocean darkening. Now, as per a study, 21% of the global ocean had become darker. So this shows the adverse impact of the climate change on the marine ecosystem. You can quote this in example that how this climate change is impacting the marine ecosystem. Apart from that, you can also quote the example of bleaching, coral bleaching. Next is related to blue NDC. What is NDC? Understand. NDC is nationally determined contribution. What is this? In a very simple sense, countries are saying that in the context of climate change, we are taking these steps to reduce the global warming. Keep it simple. NDC is nationally determined contribution. Just like you have a nationally or your own goal that I'm going to study this much hours for selection. Similarly, countries said we are going to do this for this climate change to prevent the adverse impact of climate change. Now, the term blue is basically referred to ocean. So it is talking about the marine ecosystem. Recently, it was launched at third UN Ocean Conference. This conference was hosted by, uh, I think, France. It was hosted by France in collaboration with Costa Rica. So this Blue initiative has been launched by Brazil and France. They launched the Blue NDC challenge. It was joined by countries like Australia, Fiji, Kenya, Mexico, Palau, and Seychelles. Now coming to this third UN Ocean Conference. So this was organized in France, co-hosted by Costa Rica. Focuses on again Sustainable Development Goal number 14, that is LBW. It is quite easy. See, MSD, that is Mahendra Singh Dhoni, had the jersey number 7. 7 into 2, that is 14. LBW. Jersey to LBW basically means it is related to cricket. It's okay if it is too tough to remember. Next is related to new Ramsar sites. So Ramsar Convention is there for the conservation of wetlands. Ramsar is the name of the place in Iran. Two new sites are there from Rajasthan. One is Maner and second is Kishan wetland. So total there are 91 sites. Next is related to Greater Flamingo Sanctuary. So recently Tamil Nadu notified the Greater Flamingo Sanctuary at Dhanushkodi. Apart from that, the Kutch Desert Wildlife Sanctuary. This is considered as a Flamingo City. Why it is considered as Flamingo City? Because it is South Asia's only breeding ground for Greater Flamingo. This Kutch Desert Wildlife Sanctuary is situated in Gujarat. Next is related to IBAT Alliance. What is this IBAT? It is Integrated Biodiversity Assessment Tool. As the name suggests, it is for the assessment of biodiversity. So it has doubled its investment. Now, this investment will support various initiatives. For example, World Database on the Protected Areas, IUCN Red List. Red List is a list of vulnerable species which is released by IUCN, and then there is a World Database of Key Biodiversity Areas, Protected Areas, Biodiversity Areas, and Red List. So this funding will support these initiatives. Next is International Big Cat Alliance. So basically the focus is on conservation of 7 species of big cat. Recently this was organized in India, and it was hosted by New Delhi. Now understand, during that conference, our environment minister has been declared as the president of IBCA. Now, two important things, even though it is not directly related. Just remember, NTCA is there, National Tiger Conservation Authority. This is under Environment Minister. There is NBW, National Board of Wildlife. This is under Prime Minister. UPSC had asked questions on these dimensions in previous cases also. Okay, next is revised guidelines on National Bioenergy Program. Bio plus energy. Bioenergy basically means generating energy from the organic material. By burning the biomass fuel, energy is generated. So for that context, recently MNRE, that is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, have revised the guidelines. Now, how come this bioenergy is a renewable energy source? Understand, these organic materials, they can be regrown in a limited time, and unlike fossil fuels, they are not going to take years and years. Fossil fuel take too much amount of time. That's why they are considered as limited resources. On the other hand, renewable basically means they can be regenerated. So this will promote circular economy. Circular economy, understand the concept of circular economy. It is waste to energy. Previously, what was considered as a waste, now we are converting that into the energy. So it focus on the reusability of the resources. Next is Energy Transition Index 2025. So this was released by the World Economic Forum. India's ranking has dropped. In 2024, it was 63. This year, it is 71. Sweden is on top position. Next is thirst wave. Understand in a very simple sense how thirsty is environment, or how thirsty is our atmosphere. See, if our atmosphere will be more thirsty, what will happen? It will evaporate more and more water. Therefore, the soil will require more water to compensate for that evaporation. So this basically shows the combination of two things: heat wave plus evaporation. Because of heat wave, what is happening? The evaporation is increasing. Because of evaporation, the water requirement of the soil is increasing. That is co-occurrence of heat wave and the water scarcity. That is nothing but thirst wave. So this will adversely impact our agriculture and farmers income. Next is Salkhan Fossil Park. So this has been added to UNESCO tentative list of World Heritage Sites. This is situated in Sonbhadra in UP. And last part of the environment is related to recent volcanic eruptions. So one is Mount Etna, which is situated in Italy. Then there is Mount Levotobi, which is in Indonesia, and Kilauea volcano, which is situated in Hawaii in USA. So with this, environment section is over. Now coming to next section, that is social issues. So in social issue, first topic is cultural appropriation. In a very simple sense, what is happening is that what was the entire controversy, that Prada, that is Italian brand, that have copied the Kolhapuri chappals of Maharashtra. So cultural appropriation basically means the famous one, they are using the cultural practices of lesser famous, and they are not even giving credit for that. So, in a very simple sense, it is using the elements of marginalized culture. In this case, marginalized culture basically means less popular culture by a dominant group and without even consent or benefit sharing. Of course, after that entire incident, Prada was forced to send their people to Kolhapur for understanding this entire module. Next is related to tier 2 influencers redefining cultural capital. First thing first, what is cultural capital? Cultural capital basically means the capital in terms of capital means asset. Culture basically means our cultural practices, our clothes, our food, our educational practices. They are culture and they are our asset. So that is cultural practices or cultural capital. Now what is happening is that the tier 2 basically means lesser famous cities, for example second level cities, the influencers from these cities, they are now being more vocal about their culture rather than following the cultural practices of metro cities. They are confident about their own culture. That is the concept. So what is happening, because of social media, they are able to highlight their own culture, they are able to promote their own vernacular content. So this leads to giving identity to their own culture as well. Next is related to improvement in the QS World University Ranking. So first thing first, this is a World University Ranking released by QS, and India have witnessed significant improvement in its performance. Now our 54 universities are in this list. So India is now fourth globally most represented country after US, UK, and China. From Indian side, IIT Delhi was on top position and our ranking was 123rd. So the total number of institutions are 54. Our top performing institution is on 123rd position. Because of total number of institutions, we are fourth largest represented country. Means we are having maximum universities in terms of number of universities. We are on fourth position. Number of universities which are mentioned in this list. Next is related to manosphere. In a very simple sense, this is a concept which was highlighted by UN Women. So they said that men are becoming more toxic in terms of promoting toxic masculinity, and they are against the gender rights, they are against equality, gender equality. That is the concept of manosphere, and it is more so common in online platforms. Why online? Reason being, online platforms are based on anonymity. So whenever someone demand, let's say, gender equality, so people are going to bash that person. That is manosphere. Next is women in armed forces. So recently the first batch of female cadets graduated from NDA. Now, as far as NDA is concerned, NDA allowed the involvement of women or female candidates from 2021. Nothing much is there. Next is related to World Tobacco Epidemics Report. So this is a report by WHO, World Health Organization. This focused on framework. What is this framework? Empower framework basically focus on monitor, protect, warning, offer help, enforce, and raise taxes. What is this raise taxes? In a very simple sense, the government should increase the taxes on the tobacco products. Higher taxes will increase the price, higher price will discourage the consumption, and that's why various committees have also recommended. However, the taxes are still low in case of tobacco products. They are higher, but they need to be increased even more. India is the second largest tobacco producer and exporter. Next is related to global gender gap. Gender gap basically means the gap between male and female. Okay, as for that, as per this report, in 2024, India was on 129th position. This time we are on 131st position. So our performance has gone down. There are four dimensions of this: economic opportunities, education, health, and political leadership. Understand one thing: our score has improved, but our ranking has gone down. How it is possible? It simply means the performance of other countries was much better than ours. So that is why our ranking has gone down. The score has improved. Just remember this thing. As far as this report is concerned, Iceland is on top position. In South Asia, Bangladesh is on top position. Now, there is no economy which has achieved complete gender parity. And with this current progress, it will take at least 123 years to reach to full gender parity globally. Next is WHO report on social connection. In a very simple sense, this report says that loneliness is adversely impacting the mental health of the people. So don't stay lonely, just keep studying. Okay, what was the title of the report? Report is From Loneliness to Social Connection, Charting a Path to Healthier Societies. That simply means we should focus more on social connections. See, this is important from the society perspective, which is part of your GS paper, GS1. Why it is important? Reason being, our societies are now changing. Previously we used to had joint families where people used to interact with their elder ones. Now the families are more and more nuclear. Apart from that, there is a concept of dink also: double income no kids families. That means both husband and wife are earning money and they don't want to have kids. So what is happening is that the social interaction are getting low and low, and that is why there is adverse impact on mental health. Next is related to performance grading index. So it is a report by basically index by education ministry to evaluate the performance of our schools. Now, there are 10 grades into this thing. No state or UT achieved the top 4 grades. Chandigarh is on top position, but still it is not among the top 4 grades, and Meghalaya is on bottom position. 12 states, including states like Bihar, Andaman, Nicobar, they have witnessed the reduction in their score. Next is related to State of World Population Report. This has been released by United Nations Population Fund, and it highlighted actually one thing, that there is declining or there is decline in fertility rate. However, that is not problematic. The problematic part is that there is a crisis in reproductive agency. What is reproductive agency? In a very simple sense, it is the capacity to exercise the informed and empowered decision over one's reproduction. It says, let me simplify, it says that those people who do not want kids voluntary, they are not the problem. Problem is that there are people who want kids but not able to have one. We should focus on that side of the population. So that is why this term reproductive agency is here. Next is related to Global Education Monitoring Report. This is by UNESCO. As the name suggests, it focuses on the education outcomes, which is related to SDG 4. So first 4 SDG is poverty, hunger, health, education, then gender equality and sanitation. Now, this report highlighted that how our extreme weather circumstances adversely impacted education. For example, rainfall impacted the learning outcomes. Now, this is how you can connect climate change to the education. Climate change to education. And that is why we keep on saying we need to focus on SDG, SDG. Next is related to gender budgeting knowledge hub portal. Gender budgeting basically means allocating specific financial resources for gender specific policies. So this has been released by Union Ministry of Women and Child Development. What is the objective? Basically, it is a database or repository. It will have policy briefs and best practices which are followed by different states. So with this, social issues part is over. Now, next is science and tech. So first is Axiom 4 mission. So it basically carried 4 astronauts to ISS. What is ISS? International Space Station. One of them was Indian, and that is Mr. Shubhanshu Shukla. So he is the first Indian to have reached at space station. Understand? Mr. Rakesh Sharma was the first one to reach to the space. But as far as space station is concerned, Mr. Shubhanshu Shukla is the first Indian. So this was an initiative of SpaceX in collaboration with NASA. So 4 astronauts were there: Mr. Shubhanshu Shukla from India, Peggy Whitson from USA, and then just remember the short SU from Poland, and TK from Hungary. Okay. Next is related to science and technology cluster initiative. Cluster basically means group, or what are the schemes related to development of science and technology. So this initiative was launched in 2020, and it was based on the recommendation of PMSTIAC. What is PMSTIAC? Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. As the name suggests, objective is to focus on scientific research and development and to increase collaboration with the industry. Next is critical and emerging technologies. In a very simple sense, the new technologies which are going to be very crucial. So this was recently released by Harvard Kennedy School. Now, as per this report, basically the focus was on 5 sectors: AI, biotechnology, semiconductor, space and quantum. See, as far as space is concerned, we are doing well. In quantum also we are doing well, but in case of AI and semiconductors, we are struggling. So it ranked India lower in comparison to top performers such as US, China, EU. India lags particularly in the semiconductor and other critical technologies. So that was the entire issue. Next is quantum entanglement based communication. See, understand, normal computers use 0 or 1. Quantum computers can use 0 or one or both. So that is why they are going to provide the faster communication. Recently, IIT Delhi and DRDO achieved the quantum entanglement based communication. Now, in quantum computing, three important terms are there. One is quantum key distribution, QKD, QKD. Then there is a principle of superimposition. Superimposition basically means dual state is possible. What dual state? We have seen that conventional computer can either use 0 or 1, but in case of quantum computing, it can use 0, 1 or both. Thus both is basically referred as superposition. Then there is a entanglement. Entanglement basically means the situation of one is linked to the situation of other. In a very simple sense, let me give you one example. Let's say 0 or 1. So if we are going to change 0, there will be impact on 1 also. That is quantum linking in an oversimplified sense. Next is fiber optic drones. Now let me give a very basic example. Drones are there. Mostly they use RFID, radio frequency. But what if someone hacked that radio frequency? Then we may lose control. In that case, we are using fiber optic based drones. So in a very simple sense, fiber cables are used to connect drones rather than using radio frequency. If there will be radio frequency, the enemy can basically hijack that, and enemy can misuse that. But if we are using fiber cable, then the chances will be very less. Try to understand it this way. Let's say there is a Bluetooth enabled earbuds, and there is a wired earbuds. Now understand, in case of this one, anyone can hack your Bluetooth, anyone can connect to your Bluetooth device, to your phone, something like that. In this case, you are having mobile, you have inserted the cable. Now anyone cannot hack that. Why? Because there is a cable based transmission. So same concept is being applied here in case of fiber optics. Okay, next is Dhurva. What is Dhurva? Digital hub for reference and unique virtual address. Just like you have a physical address of your home, now we are planning to have the virtual address or digital address. For that, the initiative is Dhurva. This is an initiative of Department of Post. So previously we used to have a postal address of each house. That's how people used to send letters. Now instead of that one, we will have virtual address. Just like for any computer we are having IP address, similarly for every home we will have this kind of address. Next is Tianwen 2 probe. So basically this is an initiative of China. First thing first, this was to collect the sample from the asteroid. This asteroid was near Mars. Next is related to India's first gene edited sheep. Now this was done with the help of DNA editing technology, that is CRISPR-Cas9. UPSC had asked question on this particular thing. Now this was done by the scientists at NIA, NP and IASC Bengaluru. This is India's first gene edited sheep. Now in this case, please understand, this is not a transgenic animal. That simply means there is no foreign DNA in this case. Recently, India also approved genetically modified rice variety also. To rice variety, they are not GM. Why they are not GM? Because no foreign element has been introduced. Next is HIV prevention drug approved. So recently, US FDA approved this new HIV prevention drug. The name of the drug is lenacapavir. HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, so it is the name of virus. That virus will reduce the immune system or reduce the capability of our immune system to fight disease, and this is referred as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Last is weight loss drug. So if you are health conscious and if you want to lose weight, basically one hormone is responsible. That hormone is GLP-1. What is GLP-1? Glucagon like peptide 1. In a very simple sense, this hormone regulate your hunger. If you are able to regulate your hunger, you will not eat much, you will lose weight. Of course, you need to move. But if this hormone is not regulated after eating, what will happen? You will be hungry constantly, and therefore you are going to eat more and more, and you will gain more and more weight. So recently, a Danish company named as Novo Nordisk, they have launched this anti-obesity medicine, that is Wegovy. This was launched in India. So this is using the concept of semaglutide. What is semaglutide? It mimic the function of GLP. Three things are there. One is GLP. What is the role of GLP? It regulate your hunger. You have had your lunch, now it will say that okay, we had food, no need to eat extra. This is GLP. Now similarly, there will be semaglutide. This semaglutide will keep telling your body that you need not to eat. If you will not eat, by default your body will start using the stored fat, and therefore this is how you are going to lose fat. Now there are other drugs also, just remember the name, that is Monjaro, which also mimic the GLP-1 functions. So with this, the science and technology is also over. Now coming to the last section, that is culture. So first is INS Kondinya and Tankai method. Understand, Tankai method is old method of building ships using wooden planks without using nails. So this is a very old practice. Recently it was in news because Indian Navy inducted ancient stitched ship method, and subsequently INS VE Kondinya was built using this Tankai method. Tankai method simply means rather than using nails to fix the woods, stitching method is used. Using this method, ships were built in our ancient time. We have used the same method, and now subsequently INSV Kondinya was inducted using the same method. Okay, now this was ancient method, so that itself shows that how advanced we were in that time. So this is based on the ship which is depicted in the Ajanta cave painting. Next is related to emblems and names, Prevention of Improper Use Act of 1950. Now, in a very simple sense, the act itself is self-explanatory, that we do not want to promote the improper use of our emblems and names. Recently, this issue was in news because Supreme Court dismissed a petition to honor a freedom fighter under this act. So what is the goal of act? Goal is to prevent the unauthorized use of our names, emblems for commercial purpose or for business purpose. What is being covered under this? So it covers our flags, insignia, seals, and specified names. For example, sometimes you might have noticed that a lot of people use Bharat Sarkar or the emblem of government of India on their private vehicle. That is absolutely incorrect, and that is a violation of this act. Next is related to Kumbakonam Vetrilai and Thoalai Manikka Malai. So these are the two products which received GI tag. These two are from Tamil Nadu. What is GI? Geographical indication. So what is this Kumbakonam Vetrilai? Understand, in a very simple sense, these are the betel leaf. So these are the leaves which are grown in Tamil Nadu. So these are basically palm leaves. And next is Thoavelai Manikka Malai. So it is a garland made from the flowers. Now, as far as GI tag is concerned, it is given under the GI Registration and Protection of Goods Act 1999. It is given for a duration of 10 years. It can be renewed. It is administered by DPIIT, that is under Commerce Ministry, and thus GI registry is situated in Chennai. As of now, Uttar Pradesh have highest number of GI tags. Darjeeling tea was the first product to receive the GI tag in our country. And last news is related to World Test Championship. So this championship final was organized in Lords, and South Africa defeated Australia. Now this is quite surprising. Reason being, South Africa are referred as chokers. So everyone is happy that finally South Africa won a title. In fact, two important developments in the cricket history this year: RCB won the IPL trophy, and South Africa won the World Test Championship. So with this, the entire month current affairs are over. Thank you. And one more thing, please check the Civils Academy app. Civils Academy app for the PDF. And apart from that, within 1 to 2 days, I will also post a test based on these questions. This will be a free test, and this will also be available on the Civils Academy app. Thank you.